Hello, my name's Bee and welcome to the channel. In this video series, I will be documenting my process for making what I am calling a sleeve puppet. This design is inspired by Lee Cross Originals' Blinking Dragon puppet, in which the puppet is little more than a sleeve with a mechanical head. The dragon is designed in such a way as to appear to be draped over the puppeteer's shoulders and supported by their arm. This arm is of course part of the puppet, as the puppeteer's actual arm is controlling the long neck and head of the dragon. The account Tiny Badger has also made a wonderful video on how they made their own Blinking Dragon puppet, which I used as an inspiration as well. For further detail on mechanics of the head, I referred to videos uploaded on the account Mealco on various puppet making topics. These videos appear to be ripped from a VHS, presumably made during the time that Jim Henson was creating puppets for projects such as The Labyrinth and The Dark Crystal. Both of these movies are favorites of mine, but The Dark Crystal, currently on Netflix, if you'd like to check it out, is set to get a prequel series on that same platform. The trailer for this prequel acted as the catalyst for this project, and I hope to have it finished by the time the prequel airs on August 20th, 2019. In the documentary titled Being Elmo, A Puppeteer's Journey, the voice and puppeteer of beloved Sesame Street character Elmo, Kevin Clash, describes making his first puppet out of his father's fur coat without permission. Although I don't support cutting up others' clothes without consent, I do think this illustrates a common theme of puppet making. The materials do not have to be bought, do not have to be terribly expensive, or terribly complex. Indeed, many of the early Jim Henson puppets are lost to time due to their mattress foam bases and other easily degraded and damaged parts. To keep in this thrifty spirit, I will also be using objects I already have, or cheap objects that I can repurpose, or any other found objects I can get my hands on. The first few videos of this series will document the design of the puppet's head mechanisms and their construction. Any sturdy wire for mechanisms or puppet structure that I'll need will be taken from coat hangers. At my local chain pharmacy, I found cheap plastic balls that serve as the packaging for nylons or stockings, and they will become the eyes of the puppet. A material I have in particular excess are glue sticks for hot glue guns. When prototyping this eye mechanism, I used chunks of glue sticks to bridge gaps between pieces and to join pieces together. A screw can be used to securely attach wire to the glue stick with no other tools and will hold fast given it's screwed in deep enough. Glue sticks are also bendable and strong, while still being relatively easy to cut. This makes them ideal for certain joinings that may endure some stress. The puppet's eyes will be able to move around in any given direction, and the ball joint they pivot on is mounted in a wall bracket that originally protected a television cable line. Just starting to see how big this guy's gonna be. Very exciting. So this is gonna be halfway between its eyes. As for the overall design of this character, I'm unsure of what I want the sleeve puppet to actually be. I'm hoping the final design will come as I work. I've got a few ideas. The thought of making this puppet into a lizard as opposed to a dragon really appeals to me, as adding legs may give the end result more personality. I also have a very handy reference in my pet leopard gecko, Cannoli. But a classic dragon is also extremely enticing, as the creativity there is not limited by a design we can recognize in nature. Maybe I'll just end up with an army of sleeve puppets one day. Prior to making the final version for this puppet, I prototyped a mechanism for symmetric omnidirectional eye movement. That just means that both of the eyes are fixed together, but they can still look in any direction, instead of being limited to just horizontal or vertical movement. It really just looks like how our human eyes look as opposed to like a chameleon. I will also be making eyelids that blink. The mouth will just be a standard puppet mouth, opening and closing with the thumb. I want to be able to control the whole mechanical head with one hand if I can, but I don't know if my hand is going to be able to handle all that work on its own until it's built. And I may have to make some more modifications for some ergonomic considerations. My first steps to making this final version of the mechanism were to bend and cut the coat hanger. This proved far too difficult for my little jewelry pliers, so I called in some heavy-duty help from the toolbox. After much fidgeting, fixing, and fussing around with how and where I was going to put all these wires together, I ended up wrapping the wire around some screws on both ends. The eyes themselves have hot glue sticks stuck onto them from when they were spray painted, and that's how they're going to screw into the ends of the wire posts once they're set in their brackets. The screws where the eye post will fix together in the center were set in hot glue, awaiting the ball joint to finish off the unit. Once the whole unit is assembled, I plan on fixing some of the screws in place with hot glue or some super glue to keep them from spinning within the loops of the wire coat hanger. Okay, so sorry about that. I did lose quite a bit of footage building that last bit, but I did finish the interior part of the eye movement mechanism, and I'm just gonna walk you guys through what I did here. So these were the two ends of the coat hanger wire that I bent. These are the two pieces of the coat wire that I bent out. Attach screws to both sides. This is going to mount. This is going to screw into the eyes. Once I have an eye socket to put the eyeballs in, and once I mount the mechanism inside the head. Then I I shoved those inside of a chunk of hot glue. Then to get the rod to attach to my finger, another screw, hot glued to a chunk of hot glue. That was then hot glued to the outside of the semicircle I'm using for my pivot ball joint, which I then put a screw into so I could mount a more comfortable finger loop. And this actually gives me more control over where the eyes are going to be, because I can fit my finger all the way through to the point of the ball joint. And then the wall bracket, I guess, thing that I'm using for this to mount the ball joint in just fits right over the whole thing perfectly. It was at this point that I realized the eyes might be a little small for the size of this puppet's head. I still plan on going forward with what I've got, but if I get to the construction of the body and I'm not happy with the proportions of the eyes to the head, the screw and glue stick combination allows for simple modifications if necessary. I may also end up shortening the eye posts to make the heads more narrow, but as of right now, I'm just going to forge on with what I've got. I'd love to hear any constructive feedback from you guys. I'm open to hearing new and different suggestions or any concerns I may not have thought of. So feel free to leave a comment. Thanks so much for joining me at the very start of this journey, and I hope you've enjoyed it so far. See you in the next video. Bye.